There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, the July.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Power Chord Hour podcast. Hope you're doing well out there, and thank you so much for checking out another one. As always, I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, here with you. And actually for a second time this week, I hope you enjoyed Monday's podcast with Joey Cobra. It was so rad to be able to do one in a studio. I mean, really, first time I did an interview in studio, we're talking a couple years here, and it was refreshing to have someone in. I love doing phoners. Like, some people don't like doing them, which I've never understood because it's still fun. And I mean, the thing is with them too is you have to think of like where you're located. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in Jamestown, New York, not a huge place. Bands aren't, flocking here. And, once again, we're also in a pandemic. So, right now it almost doesn't even matter where you're at, I feel like, because even if you are in, you could be in New York City right now, but I don't know how well that does you because I don't know how many people are going to be, coming in. But it was nice. I mean, me and Joey were able to be socially distant. We had a couple mics and a desk in between us, and that was just so much fun. Anytime I have a chance to do that, I'm sure we'll do it again with a couple more local bands kind of here down the line. But I hope you did enjoy that. Local for me here in Jamestown. But, want to kind of put a spotlight on those, while I do have people on here from, some big bands that you probably already know. That might be why you're listening to this right now. Maybe you found us because I interviewed, a member of one of your favorite bands, like a bigger one. But I definitely want to spotlight, including we got some really good local stuff here in an area where we don't have tons of punk rock. So, just want to help how I can. So, yeah, if you haven't checked that out yet, go check that out. That was really fun talking to Joey Cobra. He was also in a really rad band called Wake. And right now he's kind of doing his own thing, but it's kind of an independent project. But it's like great skate punk. Like, if you like we talked a lot about Fat Records too, like 90s Fat Rec bands. And it's kind of funny because it's kind of a little bit of both. Like, I would say like half of it was about his new EP, but really the other half was just about punk rock in general and, Fat Records and compilations and, all the things that are very near and dear to my heart and do come up a lot on this show, I feel like. But kind of naturally, though, too, it's funny, and next week you will hear it because, another thing near and dear to my heart is New Jersey pop punk. And I mean, I'm not from New Jersey. I'm a fan of it. I've visited many a times, and but I'm actually not near it either, though I did say I'm in New York. I'm in Western New York, so New Jersey's a good 7-8 hours away from me. But actually, a little. You know what? I take that back. It's a little less because I took the subway from Newark to New York a couple times, and that was more like a 7-hour drive. I'd say like 6.5, maybe 7, like somewhere in that realm to get to Newark from where I'm at. But yeah, so I'm not close to Jersey or anything like that, but I visited it quite a few times. And next week is another guest who is doing Christian Leverance, who does this really rad thing called Jersey Interchange right now, where he's going back and covering all these songs from that scene with members of that scene. So they're all kind of covering each other. Like, one of my favorites, and I'll play it next week, and we'll get more into it next week. I mean, I've already done the interview with Christian. It went really well. I had a blast talking to him, and we'll air that on Monday here. But anyway, I was just talking to him about it, and it's funny. I started thinking about it, and it's only 30 episodes into the podcast, we've already had so many New Jersey bands, and even if they're not quote unquote Jersey bands, I've also just had musicians who were born in Jersey or got their start there. It's so funny because in some ways, I always wonder if people think that's intentional or something, and it's truly not. I mean, it's really just. It's kind of just, I try to find people from, bands and stuff that I'm interested in or I like. And it just so happens that, a lot of it really does come from there. If nothing else, I hope it's taken as a compliment to that whole New Jersey scene and what it spawned, because just naturally, I'm not even looking to be, if you want that, there's actually a great podcast called This Was the Scene that Mike Doyle from Lanemeyer, another great New Jersey pop punk band, he does that, and his main thing is talking all about, New Jersey pop punk bands and, talking to members of those bands, and kind of an overlap with Jersey Interchange, because a lot of those guys that I think Mike has probably interviewed is doing the Jersey Interchange. Same with us, with interviewing them. But one of my favorite covers so far, there's a couple out there, but they're releasing them every Monday, so it's really cool. You got to check it out. But Heath Saraceno, who we've had on the show, who's in Midtown and Senses Fail, he did a cover of Bigwig's Flavor Ice, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's my favorite one that Jersey Interchange has done so far. They're all really good, but that one is just awesome. And I mean, I'll like I said, I'll play that on the next episode for you, and just kind of teasing you a little bit for next week's. But yeah, just one of those things. It's funny how like compilations, New Jersey pop punk, like there's just certain things that kind of pop up on this show, and it's just so funny because it's really not intentional. It was never my intention, like I'm gonna start this podcast to just interview New Jersey bands or something. It's like, nah, it was never the intention. It just kind of happens. But and actually not even just on the podcast, because my very first guest back in 2016 on the radio show was Steve Neurotic from Shower with Goats, and they were a New Jersey pop punk band, and it's so funny because that like really ingrained in there, like for him to be our first guest, he like we talked all about that. My very first guest, we were talking about New Jersey pop punk and compilations and all that, and I mean his I can't remember. No, you know what? I believe it was their first time. Les and Jake played their very first Jersey show in Steve's parents' house. And I mean, they're a great story about there. You can go listen to our very first interview. I'm sure I'm a little rusty on there. I mean, my first real radio interview. And that is on our YouTube page if you want to go find it, at Power Chord Hour on YouTube. But yeah, if you're into that thing, we get into, I mean, Les and Jake, punk in the 90s, New Jersey, compilations, Steve's band, Shower with Goats, all that stuff. But yeah, I love it. And, I mean, speaking of the radio show too, because it's insane. I mean, this is episode 29, and I can't believe we're already going to have episode 30 for you here on Monday. But even bigger than that, the radio show reached a huge milestone this week. And I'm doing my 200th episode tomorrow. If you're listening to this when it comes out on Thursday evening here, tomorrow, July 31st, 2020, will be the 200th episode of the Power Chord Hour radio show. And I mean, that's just blowing my mind. And it's so funny because I remember 2 years ago doing the 100th episode, and we had Jason Camacho on from Audio Karate. And I did that right before I went on a 4-month cross-country trip that I mentioned a few episodes back when I was talking to Eben Wares of Yellowbird Mantra. If you heard that one, I think I mentioned like I was supposed to interview him, and then I went on a cross-country trip that lasted about 4 months. So that interview, was postponed until about a few weeks ago. But a few days before I did leave for that trip, I got to interview Jason for the first time. And funny enough, we just had him back on last month. But yeah, I still remember doing that 100th episode and then going on, a very long-ass cross-country trip that, you know what, I spent a lot of it too. Because you tell people that, and it probably sounds insane. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a long time, but one of the reasons I could do that was I basically slept for free the entire time. I slept in my car almost everywhere, or slept at friends and family's houses, and that is how you do it on the cheap. And you also go buy groceries and shower. I always tell people this, and it is not mine. I credit this, I want to say the Swellers. One of the dudes in the Swellers, I think I heard this in an interview like maybe 10 years ago. And it's genius if you're a traveler. This is absolutely genius. If you don't already do this, I feel like if you travel enough, you probably already know this. But if you're looking for cheap showers while traveling, get yourself a Planet Fitness membership, $10 a month, or the Black Card. I guess is kind of inadvertently like an advertisement for Planet Fitness, but that's okay because the service is well worth it. But anyways, you're traveling, you need showers. All Planet Fitnesses have showers, so you get yourself that membership for $10, $20. Listen, the $20 one is the one that gets you in all them, but I'm not gonna say that I have the $10 one, and 9 times out of 10 it works at all of them. I'm not telling you that, but $10 a month, unlimited showers. So I mean, you sleep in your car, you got a place to go work out and shower all around the country. Literally, like, the only place for that 4 months that I couldn't find one was, I want to say, Montana. It was either Montana or Wyoming. Actually, I don't think I hit Wyoming that trip, so probably Montana was the only place that I had to go stop at a rest stop, or not a rest stop, but like a TA, like a travel plaza, and get a shower there. Now, I will say, not glamorous, not the Planet Fitness showers are not the most glamorous places you could take a shower. Don't get me wrong. But, if you just need a good shower while you're traveling, I mean, that's the cheap way to do it. That's Anthony's hot money-saving tip, is to sleep in your car and take showers at Planet Fitnesses. I mean, if you're in a band listening to this, that's the funny thing is, if you're in a band and you're listening to this, you probably already do this shit. Whereas, other people, some people get turned off by that, where they don't want to travel that way. And I'm like, that's how you do it cheap, and you do it a lot. Like, that's how I've been able to travel quite a bit in my 20s here, is really being a cheap bastard in a lot of ways when you're traveling, because quite frankly, you can travel longer if you spend less money. I mean, crazy concept, but the less money you spend and the more you can stretch it out while traveling, the longer your travels can be. But I one of these days I'll do like a travel podcast or something, because I know it gets brought up on here a decent amount. But so anyways, for a month cross country trip after our 100th episode. And it's crazy to think that in between that time, I went cross country 4 months, when I lived in Minneapolis for a year, back here in Jamestown now for, I don't know, like 6-7 months. And, which I don't know, I was supposed to be here for a little while, and COVID has kind of kept me put. I got to be honest. I don't know when I was going to be out. I was kind of thinking of looking at other, it was kind of in between moving from Minneapolis to somewhere else, and I was going to come home for a little while back to Jamestown and spend a couple months, save up some money and whatnot, and kind of come collect. I also had some stuff that I left here, so come get that. But now with COVID, it's like, I was talking to someone the other day, and it's like, there's like a part of me where you look and it's like, I can't believe it's already August. And there's that part of me where it's like, I have a worry of like, why am I not doing anything? Like, I should be doing this or that. And then it's like, then you remember and you're like, yeah, the world's kind of like frozen right now. And, like, even moving, like, I'm like, I don't even want to move right now. Like, for one, I mean, good luck finding a job somewhere, I mean, I realize that right away. And then it's like, you don't know what's going to change in the middle of it. You don't know what's going to happen. You move somewhere where things are open, then all of a sudden they're not, and do you want to move where everything's open? I mean, I did go out of town for a couple weeks earlier in the month here, and went down, spent most of my time in Virginia, and did the Blue Ridge Parkway, and met up with a buddy who's in the Navy in Norfolk, and we did the Outer Banks for 2 days. And I mean, pretty socially distant though. I mean, we really didn't. We never, I mean, we just kind of went and hung out. The beaches weren't too bad. I mean, there were a couple busy beaches, but we didn't really hit them. We just didn't really do that. We hit a couple dunes and stuff, but had a good time. Stayed socially distant, but like, even me traveling a little bit, like it's funny because you go through the states and like some states are taking it very seriously, and then there's others where like you walk into a Wawa, shout out Wawa, and delicious hoagies, and you walk into, that's kind of the test, is a Wawa test, because those southern states, quite a few of them have them going down there. And, some states you go in and everyone's wearing masks, and then others, I was like one of the few wearing masks. And it was very funny seeing it from state to state. But, I like, even traveling around, it's like, that's about my extent. Like, I did a lot of hiking and outdoorsy stuff. It's like, I still am not into the idea of crowded places or anything like that. Like, it might have been, I think it was North Carolina. That's as far south as I hit, was North Carolina. I think it was there where bars were open. And I didn't go into any of them, but it's like, it was insane seeing some of them. And it's like, there's part of you that goes like, oh yeah, it would kind of be, it kind of feels normal. Like, you can go in, like, there's some normalcy there. But then the other part is like, I don't even think I want to, be in a place like that right now, or, any kind of place with more than a handful of people. Like, I feel like most people are that way. But, I mean, kind of going on a tangent on that, but it's just like, that's my whole thing with moving right now. I'm just like, it just doesn't make sense. Every state's different and states keep changing and stuff. So I'm just like, I'm staying put for, who knows how long, however long it takes for this whole thing to be over. But, and I will say too, I mean, just getting getting in my car and being able to do that, even, well, I shouldn't even say even, because I'm saying it like it's not, like that's my favorite thing to do is go hike and stuff. So being able to just I literally spent like a week on the Blue Ridge Parkway just hiking and, being kind of in seclusion, just going and buying some tofurkey ham and some wheat bread and mustard and just eating. I kept thinking of Jack Kerouac. That's what he eats in On the Road. He just keeps making those ham sandwiches and like making them during the whole the whole journey. Like I think exactly the same thing. Like I don't even know if there's cheese on it. Just like bologna and mustard on like white bread. I was basically eating the vegetarian version of that. And just doing it cheap and going out and kind of sleeping in the car and hiking and stuff. And it was nice. Because it was, it kind of was a break of, obviously being quarantined for so long and, kind of being able to see something that wasn't New York / Pennsylvania, because I'm right on that border. So, I mean, I've been to Pennsylvania a couple times. So I'm literally like 15 minutes from it. But, it was nice to get out earlier in the month. It's also insane, though. I mean, I can't believe, this is I guess I haven't said it yet, but you've probably read the title. It is our July rundown since we're at the end of the month here. And depending on where you're listening to, it might also be the beginning of August. So happy August to you if you're listening in the future. But, it just blows my mind. It's already been so long since I've been back. I mean, I've almost been back now a month. And, that's just crazy. And even since then, I mean, I've been back. We've already had a couple guests and whatnot. And, the podcast's already back in swing. We took a couple of weeks off, did those throwback episodes, which I hope you enjoyed with CJ Ramone and Mark McMillan of Hawthorne Heights and the Story Changes. Obviously, CJ Ramone. I think you can probably guess what band he's from. If you don't know, I hope you can tell. But, I hope you enjoyed those. That CJ Ramone one's still my all-time favorite interview. We got to get him back in sometime. And, he's a fun one on social media, too, if you don't follow him. Because he's always like, he gives you basically a song of the day. I love it. Like, you can kind of check in with CJ. Like, he'll normally put something up, like, in the morning and then at night, too. And it's like, and when I say he's kind of inspirational, not in, like, a inspirational or motivational speaker way, but more of just he, like, will throw you, like, a song with just a nice quip about something that kind of, is positive or like makes you, like kind of keep your head up or something. And it's like, I mean, the man has great taste in music too. So he's always playing good stuff. But I mean, he's a great follow on anything. I mean, he's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those. He's just a really good follow. But we got to have him back on. I've enjoyed it too, since being back home. Doing the last couple interviews here with Evan Wares of Yellowbird Mantra and Joey Cobra in studio. Last week we did that. I was trying to remember when that was. It would have been last week. And this upcoming one, it's not out yet, but Christian Leverance coming up here on Monday, who is the brainchild of Jersey Interchange. And, I won't get into that much more, but like if you don't know what that is, for one, go look it up right now. They put the music up on the New Jersey Pop Punk, the NJPP SoundCloud, which has a bunch of other great stuff on it, which you want to go check out. But there's like 9 of the songs right now. Like I said, they're all covers of that like late 90s, early 2000s ska punk, pop punk scene of New Jersey. And it's members of those bands covering other bands. And it's just amazing. It's really, really cool. And I can't wait for you to hear that interview too. That was a fun one that was kind of like with Joey Cobra, where it was like half of it was talking about, Jersey Interchange, because I want to get the word out on that. But the other half was just talking about music and talking about that scene, like Christian has a really cool project that we want to talk about, but it was also just, just kind of two people just kind of, bullshitting about their mutual love for something, which was really cool. And he educated me too, because I mean, all my information is secondhand. I mean, we were talking about it in the interview, and like we were doing the math, and we're like, yeah, I'd probably be like 7 years old when most of the stuff was going on that like we're talking about. So it's like I wasn't there for it, and so what's documented is from the people who were there. And which is another, going back to This Was the Scene podcast to, not to veer attention away from ours, but when you're done listening to us, This Was the Scene is a great one that documents exactly that. Like what I love about it was really something I kind of wanted to do with the Power Chord Hour, to be honest, before Mike started doing that. He did start in 2018. But I mean, like I said, my first interview was with Steve Neurotic back in 2016, and we were talking about a lot of the stuff that Mike talks about on his podcast. And I've more than once played like blocks of just obscure New Jersey bands on there, and promoted like the New Jersey pop punk SoundCloud. That's like a huge archive of all these bands, because obviously a lot of bands that you can't find or have been out of print for 20 years and are never going to be back in print. They were put out by like their friend's label, like something like that. But just amazing. I mean, just we were getting into how special that scene was and the importance of it. And next episode we'll talk all about that if you don't know much about it, or you just want to reminisce of the good old days. Maybe you already know how good that music is and how rad that scene was. But it was awesome talking to him. And I don't know who we'll have next, honestly. I don't, as you're hearing this, so I have a guest for you obviously with him next week, but the following week I don't have anyone. I gotta hit some more people up. But, as I always say, too, if there's anyone you want to hear on here, or at least I should preface it, who should I hit up? Not who do you want me to talk to like it's a guarantee, but I mean, who would you like me to talk to on here? Hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com, and let me know, because, I obviously, want to have people on here who, if you're listening to this, we probably, you're probably like-minded like me. We're very like-minded with like the music and stuff that we like. I'm sure we share a lot of similarities with music taste and whatnot. So, I mean, if you're like, yeah, there's this rad band or this rad musician or something who would be right up your alley, what you do on here, hit me up, and, I'll try to get them on. And, hopefully make it work. I always get stoked when I have guests on, and then, like I post on like social media, and then hearing from people who are like, oh man, like I love that band, or like, even with Joey Cobra, it was a pre-interview, but it's funny because like long before he was on, and I really like Joey. It's funny because I've talked to him online. He's one of those guys, like I've talked to him online and kind of gotten to know him through the radio show. I mean, he lives in Jamestown. And but that was really the first time us meeting in person. But it's funny because we already that's a weird thing with like social media and stuff. Like he'd been listening to the radio show too, not just a podcast. Like he's been listening when we were just a radio show. Like I said, we've been doing the radio show since 2016, and this show's new to this year. So he's been listening to a few years now. So it's like he already like knows bands that I've like interviewed and music that I play on here and stuff. But when I've had Jason on from Audio Karate, he was always like, oh, hell yeah. Like he was like, oh yeah, I saw them back in the day and stuff. And we were sitting here before the interview in studio just talking about how good Audio Karate is and how good Jason's guitar playing was, or is, I should say, really. And just how funny it was how like Jason was kind of downplaying his guitar playing in our interview. As people do. I mean, people are modest. I mean, I get it. You don't want to just come out and go like, I'm an amazing fucking guitar player. But he doesn't give himself any credit. And he's this amazing guitar player who just plays like no one else. And, me and Joey were just talking about that. And he was like telling me this crazy story about seeing them at Extreme Wheels and Art doing vocal warm-ups, just screaming his lungs out in the bathroom. And Joey, like, what the hell? Like, he didn't know at first, like, what was going on. Just some guy, like, screaming. Like, if you've heard Art screams, like, they're amazing. And it's just some dude doing this, like, what the hell? And, that was absolutely fun. But, I mean, we have a whole month here of pods, if you haven't heard them yet, of, with Yellowbird Mantra and Joey Cobra and those throwback episodes. And very soon the Jersey Interchange one. But, it's been fun, and, just kind of been interviewing people. God, I will say I've been lightening the load with my vinyl collection lately. I've been trying to save up for a new computer, and, I got to say, like, right now, like, I'm trying not to really spend much money as I thought most people were doing that, but I got to say, like, I've put some records up on eBay that I cannot believe what I've gotten for them. Like, I just got to be honest. I'm not a record flipper. I've never been that guy who buys them for the sake of reselling them, but I really do have a not to toot my own horn, but I just have a collection of rare shit, because I was buying it all, like to me, the beauty, like the best time, my favorite time collecting vinyl, and I still buy it, but I don't buy it like I did. My like vinyl buying years were like 2010 to 2016. And like during that time, like the early, like I would say like 2010 to like 2014, and even before that, because I was buying records before that, but really started in like 2010. But I'd say around like going back a year or two to like 08, I think it was around the time Hot Topic started really selling vinyl, and no one was buying it. So like this shit would go in the clearance racks. No one would buy it there, and then it would get knocked down like another 50%. And I could go in there and buy records for like $4. Like, I'm not even, when I'm saying that, like, I'm not even joking. Like, I remember a time, it's been almost a decade that since you've been able to do it, but you used to be able to go into Hot Topics like anywhere and just buy records for like $5. Like, that's not insane to have walked out there for like $30 left with like 7 records. Like, that was not a crazy thing at all. And then they'd have like deals too, like buy 2, get 1 free and stuff. And then vinyl started getting bigger, I'd say around like 2014. And they stopped that. I think Hot Topic figured that out, how much, because they had to be losing money. Like, I'm not, like, they could not have been making like, it, like, even if vinyl, like, I'm sure it didn't cost them that much. They're buying them wholesale and stuff. But even at that, like, what is the profit off $5? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm buying it for $5, like, really, what are they making off of it? And, I've just bought a bunch over the years. And one thing, too, I did leave my record collection behind when I lived in Minneapolis for a year. I mean, I bought records while I was out there, but I had no room in my car when I moved out there. So I was without my record collection for a year. And I don't want to say that I lost my attachment to it, because I still do. And don't get me wrong, like, I went through and there's a bunch of records I will not sell. But there are ones where now I can kind of go through and go like, all right, be honest, man. Like, you haven't listened to this in like 3 or 4 years, or, like, I even have a couple where I bought them and, to be honest, just never even opened them. Like, would just sometimes too get a good price. Because that's the other thing too. I would sometimes get doubles because they were so cheap. I'd just be like, because I used to collect too. So it's like, I mean, if it's a couple variants, it's like, hell yeah, I'll buy 2 or 3 of the same record for $5-$6, different colors. But yeah, I mean, I've sold some lately. And I've just been surprised, like people are buying records. I gotta say, like, and I guess not really a bad thing for me, because like I said, I'm trying to save up for a new computer, basically to do the pod and different like photography stuff, and just various different things that my 2012 MacBook can no longer. It's served me well. But yeah, I need something better now, I think. And, it's time for that. But yeah, I cannot believe what records are going for, even right now. And yeah, it's just insane. I don't even know where I'm going with that. And, like I said, I'm not a flipper, because when I hear people talk about selling records for a lot, I get weary. Like, when other people, it's okay for me to sit here and talk about it. When other people do it, though, I get a little weary. I go like, motherfucker, you a flipper? And that's not cool to me. Like, you should not buy them with intentions of that. Now, if you've been collecting for, I've been collecting now for like 10, 11 years, and I have just an ass ton of records, and, a lot of them that I just don't really listen to anymore. And, to be completely honest, someone's going to pay me $80-$90 for a record that I paid $8 for in 2011. Well, that's where, to me, my sentimental value, I do put a price on something. I can kind of be like, well, okay, I need the computer more than I need vinyl. And I mean, that's just grown up, honestly. I'm just telling you, I'm sitting here letting you know how mature this podcast host really is. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to in the month of July. Not a terrible month, because it was kind of eventful for me, which, I'm extremely fortunate for. Everyone has varying degrees in this quarantine. I mean, I've been stuck in the house for, days on end for sure. I know there's people who have been stuck in even more than that. There's been people stuck in for months at a time. Thankfully, I don't think I ever had that. I did get out for a walk here or there or something, or even a ride. But, to be able to do the podcast and radio show too, keep my sanity, because it's something I can kind of do as much as I want with it. I mean, there's something you can always be doing with it. I feel like I'm back in college, because back in college, when I wasn't doing shit and I was just having fun, you would kind of, and I talk to other friends, everyone kind of seems this way that I talk to, but you can always be doing something. Like, there's probably homework you could get ahead on. There's probably, like, if that you have to read a chapter every week in a textbook, that, if you're not doing shit, you could read that next chapter and stuff. And it's that kind of anxiety where it's like you almost never want to rest, because there's always something you'd be doing. And it's kind of the same thing with the radio show and podcasts. Like, I'd be doing something on social media. I could be trying booking guests. I mean, there's times where I just get in the mood to like make playlists, and I will go on like this huge binge where like I make like 3 or 4 playlists for like the next 3 or 4 radio shows, just because I'm just in the mood. I'm like, all right, what am I playing? Like, what have I been listening to lately? And I get on those little kicks. So, it is so nice. It's so nice to have. It's always been. It was the same thing. I mean, I had the radio show after graduating college, and just in that middle, like, looking for a job. Like, I'm out of college. and I'm still looking for work, and I wasn't finding it for a little while, and it was like that was the nice thing every week. It's like still got to do the radio show, like you're something to look forward to, something to work on, and I'm so happy I've made it to 200 episodes. I mean, sincerely, I do want to thank anyone who's listened to the radio show. It's a huge part of this. I mean, there wouldn't be a podcast without the radio show, and that's just the truth. I've been doing the show for so long, and kind of helped me with my feet too. If which I don't know. Hopefully, I don't suck too bad on here, and I would credit that. If you don't think I suck on here too bad, I would credit that to doing the radio show for so long. Giving me time to kind of work on things and whatnot. And it's so crazy to be 200 episodes in. I was informed. I believe I'm the third longest running show on WRFA, behind Third Street Garage, which is a great garage rock show, which is on Friday nights. We used to air. We also air Friday nights. We used to be on at 8 o'clock at night. Now we're on at 10. But Third Street Garage, I believe there's still 7 p.m. on Fridays, so we'd be right after them. And always good music. It was kind of a nice 1-2 punch because he would play. We would have overlapping things where you would hear like Lucero or the Replacements or like Uncle Tupelo or like even like Archers of Loaf or something, like bands that you would kind of hear on both of our shows. And then there's kind of that overlap though, because then he'd go more of the other side where he might play like the Rolling Stones. You might not hear the Stones on my show, but then I'll go play something else where it's like, well, if you mutually like if you like both our shows and maybe you lean more towards this rock and roll, but listen, like I got this. And I feel like that's how you broaden people's horizons. And you go like, I play something more punk or something, and it's like not too left field, but something where you might turn on the listener of Third Street Garage, or vice versa. Someone's waiting for the Power Chord Hour to come on, and they listen to that and hear some garage bands who I may not play. But behind that and the Swedish Hour, which is a show that I produced for a few years actually back in high school when I had an internship at WRFA. And was fun to do, and I love that it's still going on. That has to be the longest running one. I don't know how long Yed's been doing it, but she's awesome, and she's been doing that. Like I said, I don't even know. I mean, that could very well be 20 years, and it may be even more. I actually think it started even pre-WRFA, to be honest. I think it was on another station, and then whatever station was before WRFA and then became WRFA, the Swedish Hour was on. But I always got a kick out of that too, because producing that, we do have, even to this day, a dedicated fan base in Sweden for the Swedish Hour. So it was always cool to be like, I knew the thing that I was working on was being heard internationally. I always got a huge kick out of that. But I love to be in the ranks of the third longest running show on WRFA. Very rad. And like I said, I always try to say that too. I know you're probably listening from places that aren't Jamestown, but a really rad station that just plays a little bit of everything. Like, including if you like what I'm playing on here, you could turn that on and there might be a replacement song. They might be playing the Buzzcocks. They might be playing the Menzingers. You might hear Bad Brains, and then everyone has like different stuff too. Like you might hear a block of like old school hip hop. You might hear freeform jazz. You might hear bluegrass, like anything under the sun. An hour of Grateful Dead bootlegs. Please don't hold that against us, though. I mean, we have some flaws, but overall, great station. I love WRFA. Can't thank them enough for letting me do it. 107.9 WRFA in Jamestown, New York. Now 4 years strong for me doing the radio show. Maybe I'll have to play some 4 years strong now because of that. But and shameless plug too. Listen to that station. Listen to me every Friday night at 10 Eastern on WRFALP.com. If you go there, there's a streaming button and you can stream the station there. So you can listen in real time. And maybe you're listening to this like on Friday, it comes out Thursday evening. Maybe you're listening to this Friday. Dude, listen tonight. Dudette, whoever's listening to this right now, listen to that later if you will. And, playing some punk rock and whatnot for our 200th episode. But, thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for supporting the radio show. I mean, if you've listened to anything where you hear my voice, thank you for supporting it. And very cool, too, our listener Grace made us some more Power Chord Hour t-shirts. I do have some guitar picks and stickers I got made. Those things have been going like crazy, which I love. And if you've not gotten some yet, hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. And I have these t-shirts right now. I mentioned them before, and I'm not going to sell them, but what I am going to do, they are free, but all you got to do is leave us a review on iTunes. And I don't know, I always say wherever you listen to your podcast. I guess basically anywhere you can rate your podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, if you can rate it, rate us, send me a screen cap at powerchordhour@gmail.com, and I'll send you one absolutely free. I'll send you a shirt. I'll probably throw some stickers and pics in there too. And shirts look really, really sick. I can't thank her enough. Second time she's got shirts made for the show, and just absolutely awesome. I mean, honestly, the first person to support the show as well. I mean, I literally remember her being the first person to email the show one night when I asked a question. I don't remember the exact question, but something about Green Day. Kind of about why Green Day was like the band on lookout to get big, but why the other ones never got as big, which is always an interesting question, I think, because not that Green Day didn't deserve it. I'm not saying that at all. They absolutely deserved it. But I'm just surprised that, like, the Queers or the Mr. T Experience, or, even Screeching Weasel for that matter, just bands of that era and of Lookout that just never got as big as them, where I'm like, it just surprises me, It absolutely surprises me. But so I've just been having fun doing it, been having a fun month doing the radio show, about to get into the next one, into the next month here. But yeah, shout out to Grace, and if you'd like one of those shirts, leave us a review on iTunes or anywhere else you listen to your podcast, and if you don't, please subscribe. But yeah, send me a screenshot and I will send you some free shit. They are awesome looking shirts. They have the Power Chord Hour logo on them, and looks really, really cool. I'm stoked to get them out there. And we got new shirts, and we also have new music. And since it is July Rundown right now, I have a list of releases that came out this month that you should definitely go check out, and I'll play you a couple songs off this list afterwards. The Real Mackenzies just put out Beer and Loathing on Fat Records. Gotta go check them out. Speaking of Fat Records, NoFX and Frank Turner just put out West Coast versus Wessex Split, and that is each other. Frank Turner covering NoFX and NoFX covering Frank Turner. That's kind of a no-brainer, I think, if you're a Fat Records fan and you hear that. That's something you got to go check out, honestly. And the Jayhawks are back with one, a absolutely classic band with XOXO. Our buddy Joe Normal, probably future guest of the show. I'm sure we'll have him on again, but past guest of the show and friend of the show, just put out a Buddy Holly cover of Thank You Girl. Really, really rad. Go check that out. The Lawrence Arms just put out Skeleton Coast. I like that record. I got to listen to it more. Metropole, their one before it, is still up there in like my second or third favorite Lawrence Arms record. But this Skeleton Coast is pretty damn good. I'm enjoying it, and I was just talking to Joey Cobra last week about it. He absolutely loves it too, and everyone else who I've talked to who's heard it really, really loves it. So I mean, if you're a Lawrence Arms fan, they don't disappoint. It sounds like just a great Lawrence Arms record, and it's awesome that they're this far in their career and still putting out this great music. And this is an oldie but a goodie that just got a deluxe edition that put out, which I'd never heard of the band before, but are really good. They're called Blue Channel, and the record is Looking at Life Through Dirty Glasses, and they just put out a deluxe edition. If you've heard of that record, I guess it came out in I want to say 2000. I think it's the 20th anniversary, but 1999 or 2000, and just kind of a band of that era. The record sounds really good, and I thought it was well worth putting on here because it's probably a band you missed as well. And kind of in the vein, I would say, of like a Braid or the Get Up Kids or the Promise Ring, I think it kind of gives you an idea of what you can kind of expect in there. But go check that out. The deluxe edition has some extra songs that was not on the original. The Psychedelic Furs have a new one, Made of Rain. Yellowbird Mantra, our guest of the month, Eben there, it was great talking to him. New England Summer EP, that is out now. Definitely go check that out. Scott Sellers, his Influence album is out, and that is all covers of his favorite 90s punk bands. He does some really good stuff on there. He's a guy I actually hit up. I've not heard back from him yet, but I did hit him up to come on the show. So I don't know, maybe we'll have Scott on sometime soon. He's been putting out some great original stuff, and those covers as well are just amazing. He's been putting out some really cool music. Pup just put out a live record live at the Electric Ballroom. Stress Dolls just put out their full length, and I believe their first full length actually. They've basically, I think, been a singles band up until now. But yeah, it is called Pain is a Season, and we'll play something off that later for you. They're friends of the show from up in the road in Buffalo. And Jersey Interchange, like I said, they got new songs coming out every Monday. You can hear the first 9 or 10 songs that are out now on the NJPP SoundCloud. That is New Jersey Pop Punk. And, like I also mentioned, outside of that, all the classics on there. Go there, find a bunch of obscure bands you've never heard of before who probably have members of bands that you do know. That's the thing, is you'll go on there and go, I've never heard of this band. And then all of a sudden you look and go, oh, Gabe Supporta's in it, or Chris Connolly's in it from Saves the Day, different things like that. So go check that out. New songs every Monday. Japandroids just put out lots of live records lately from bands. They just put out one, Massey fucking Hall, and if you can't guess, they're playing Massey fucking Hall in that one. And the Slackers, which we'll play this later, put out a single for their upcoming record, is called Sleep Outside. We'll play a little ska for you here. Bob Nana put out Celebration States. Gang of Four is back with Anti-Hero. Broadway Calls just put out Sad in the City. We played the first single on the June rundown, I believe, for that. So go check out that whole record is out now. And last but not least, one of my favorites of the month, and we're going to kick off this block of music with something off of it, but the Lees of Memory just put out Moonshot, and that is half of Superdrag, guitarist and singer. You got John Davis and Brandon Fisher of Superdrag in there. And I love this. I love this record. It sounds, if you heard Unnecessary Evil, which is probably, not even probably, it's the best thing John Davis has wrote since Head Trip in Every Key. And Unnecessary Evil still might be the best thing the Lees of Memory put out. But this Moonshot would be the second best. I liked their last album. It was a double album. I think it was kind of like a loose concept record. It came out in I believe either 2018 I think came out. But it was more Beatles-esque, and I mean there's always that influence in there. But as far as, I think there's also, though, other power pop influences in the music. But I think that one was more on that psychedelic and Beatles side, where this is more towards that, also like Teenage Fan Club and some of the, rockin' songs from like Big Star and, just different influences like that. I think this is more of a kind of more straight rock record like Unnecessary Evil was. And I absolutely love it. I mean, John Davis is a musical genius. And this song, to me, it's the second song off the record. First one we're going to play for you on the July rundown. This could have been a Superdrag song, in my opinion. I could hear this on Regretfully Yours. Let me know if you think so. I hope you enjoy it. Right now, here is Lees of Memory with Crocodile Tears right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast. We are picking it up right here on the Power Chord Hour podcast with a little ska for you. That was the Slackers with Sleep Outside. That is the first single off their upcoming record coming out here in August, so go check that out. Before that was our buddies in Stress Dolls with Mall Walker. That comes off their brand new album, Pain is a Season. Go check that out. Great band from up the road in Buffalo. Deserves your support, and lots of great stuff on there. Chelsea's a really good songwriter. And opening up that block of music, I mean, one of my favorites, John Davis. One of the power pop gods. I put him right up there with Alex Chilton. That was Crocodile Tears from the Lees of Memory off their new record, Moonshot. You got to go check that out. If you were a Superdrag fan and you have not heard the Lees of Memory, you have to go do it. I wouldn't say they're a carbon copy of Superdrag, and I don't think John Davis would want you to say that. And I don't think he wants that. But since you do have half of Superdrag in there, it's going to sound, you know what I mean? Like, it's still going to sound like it. And I mean, man, is it so good. They're just a good rock band, basically. But go check them out. I was happy about that. And actually, I knew that album was getting released, but forgot it was getting released. And remembered like a week afterwards. And it was actually when I was traveling, I believe on the Blue Ridge, maybe like on my way to the Blue Ridge Parkway. And it was a very nice surprise to get that and listen to it. That was a good record. I can't say good enough things about it. But I'm a huge John Davis Superdrag fan. Including, the first two records in particular. Regretfully Yours and Head Trip in Every Key. Some of the best power pop records and just some of the best records in general. And can't say good enough stuff. Once again, we're kind of in quarantine. So, if these are bands, if you don't know who the hell I'm talking about, go change that and go listen to Superdrag. You will not regret it. You're in quarantine. You should not be out doing anything. You should be inside discovering good music. And that is my job here is to keep you indoors and with your headphones on. So go listen to some good music. And, before I let you go for this July rundown, I do want to give you a little music news and just a couple little light things here. I'm by no means the Larry King of punk news, But just a couple little things happening this month. This one's kind of cool and very on brand for these guys. They're all huge, some of the biggest coffee drinkers I think I've ever met. Like just ungodly amounts of coffee. But my buddies in Hawthorne Heights, they have released a new coffee called Burkhart, and the line of coffee is really I'm a fan of this. The taste is described on their website as strawberry taffy and summer of 2004, which is just I mean that's genius. That is honestly genius. If you want the taste, I mean, who doesn't love both those things? Strawberry taffy and the summer of '04. I'm already on board, and it's kind of cool. The name, the Burkhart, I should say, comes from the street name that the local Knights of Columbus that they used to play in Dayton was on. So it's kind of a tribute or whatnot to their early days. Thus, the summer of 2004, naming it after the street that the Dayton Knights of Columbus was on. And I think that's really cool. I've heard, I almost want to say they put shows on there too. I've talked to JT after shows about that, and I know the old KOCs come up, which was before my time, but I've heard more than, not just them, but, when shows used to go on at those places. And I always get a kick out hearing about it, but I think he told me of some pretty neat ones that they had there, like way back in the day, even like pre-Hawthorne Heights when they were called A Day in the Life, and we're kind of more of a pop punk band, and just really cool. I think that's really cool that they're, which is two big things for them. I mean, I know all those dudes love coffee, and also, to kind of celebrate their roots, I think is really cool. And that's the other thing too, is the coffee's probably not shitty because those guys like coffee. It's not like I do see people now, like I feel like a lot of bands you have one of two things, or you might have both. If you don't have a craft beer, you're making coffee beans. And but what I'm getting at is they're kind of throwing their names on it, like a lot of bands do that, but I don't feel it. Like Hawthorne Heights is not that band. Like I can tell you firsthand, those guys love coffee. So they're like, no one came to them with like an idea, like, hey, we have this coffee and it would sell more if we put like a band name on it. Do you guys want to do it? Like, I know it's not that. Like those guys probably actually like set out and made some really good shit. So I just think that's neat. If you're a coffee connoisseur and a music fan, go check out, and you like the taste of the summer of 2004. If that sounds delectable to you, then go grab that at HawthorneHeightsStore.com. Very cool. I might even grab it. I don't even know that I'm a coffee fan. I basically get iced coffee from like Dunkin' Donuts and Tim Hortons. And when I lived in Minnesota, shout out to Caribou, which I do miss, though I do not miss those prices. God damn, that's expensive coffee, but delicious. And I'm not a huge coffee dude. There's like 3 places, and I think I just like sugary drinks too. But I might go check this out. The strawberry taffy also sounds pretty good. And they've done some cool ones. I don't know if they have any more plans, but as you've probably seen lately during the summertime, some bands have been doing drive-in shows, and I know Hawthorne did a couple of those in Ohio. I think 2 of them, and I think they went pretty well. I believe I've not seen video. I'll have to go check that out. But I just know on social media they've said that they both went pretty well. And I think that's awesome. There's no drive-ins really close to me, so there's not really that chance. But I think if you're in an area where drive-ins are right now, I mean, I know they're not the first band to do that. So I mean, you might get some chances. You may actually get some. We still have the second half of summer here. You might be lucky and get a couple shows. Who knows? That'd be about what I would wanna go. I'd probably go to a drive-in show. I don't know how I would feel about a club show right now. And that brings us into our second piece of news, which I thought was very interesting. Apparently, music venues in Europe are set to reopen in August. So, I mean, as you're listening to this, they might be open, and the audiences will be socially distanced. And the UK government is going to open performances in theaters and other venues starting August 1st, and then business events and conferences are going to be opening up October 1st. And I know we do have some listeners in Europe there, and I would, if you know more about this, I read a little into it, but I don't know everything. I would like to know more about, like if you've been to one, or if you know more information about it, email me. I'd like to hear about like what the caps are, what the rules are going to be, if there's a lot of shows booked already. Because, that's the other thing, though, too, is like they may open it, but my other thing is, will people go to it, And it's kind of a mixed bag because obviously you see some places where they're, like more in the States though, not Europe, but more in the States, you'll see like, the news of like, you'll see beaches in Florida, they're like, packed. And, you'll see things like that. But then there's other places you go where no one's out. Like even if things are open, it's like, people are, staying quarantined. So it really depends where you're at. I would be interested to know in Europe if it will be a thing, if they're going to get a lot of people or if people are going to be weary about it. Like, to be honest, I would still be weary. Like, that's why it kind of goes into what I was talking about with the drive-in shows. Like, I think I would be cool with going, not even think, I would be fine with going to a drive-in. That would be totally cool with me. I would feel fine doing that. Going to a show in a venue is kind of a different story. I don't know that I would want to do that right now. And I feel like a lot of people wouldn't. But that's another one too. Not even Europe, but I mean, no matter where you're listening from, I would like to hear that too. Like, would you feel comfortable going to a show right now if you could inside a venue? I mean, and even in the hypothetical, I mean, sure, socially distanced. Say you're not going to be, it's not going to be one of those shows where you're on top of each other and you have 50 different people sweat on you. It will probably be a little different than that. But I mean, even with that said, would you be down to go do it? Like, yeah, I mean, there's part of me where it's like, man, I would just kill to go see a show. But it's like there's, another part of me, it's like, I don't know that I want to be in a crowded place like that, which, because that's the other thing too, is like, how socially distant is it? I mean, are we talking if the place is normally 800 cap, is socially distant 400 cap? Or, or do they fudge the numbers and socially distant goes from like 800 to like 700? You know what I mean? Like something small where it's this real kind of iffy, like, is this being socially distant? Like, I'm not sure, like, so I don't know. It's a weird one. It's like there's a part of me that's like, I guess it's a direction back to normalcy, but once again, it also to a point, because if it becomes a thing where outbreaks and shit come back, then it's kind of counterproductive. But it's like there's a part of it where it's like I hear that I'm like, I kind of like that they have shows again, but like once again, I don't think I would go to it. So it's a weird thing, I'm not angry about it. I think some people may not like that, like may be like angry about it, and like my kind of thing on it is, you're not going to see me there. I'm not going to probably be in that indoor venue right now, but I don't know that I would, like damn the people who did go to it or, were opening it, including the venues, because it is just so sad. You're seeing all these things, and I wish I would have prepped it beforehand and had some links for you. But I know there's stuff right now to sign up for, like, to help save stage. I think one is called Save Our Stages. But, just those organizations right now, because venues all around are closing, the small, including the smaller ones. And so, I mean, there's that part too where I go, I don't know if a venue has to open, and that's the way that, being socially distant shows, and that's, how they're going to keep the lights on. It's like, once again, I may not be there, but I totally understand, that may be the only way for, preserving the place, which, is messed up and it's sad, but I would assume that's kind of the thought right now is, we're kind of opening up if, as soon as we can, whether we want to or not. If you're in the UK and you own a venue and they're like, yeah, go on open, it's like, yeah, I really can't blame them. But I don't know that I would be there. And some good stuff if you're an MXPX fan. MXPX have released an official lyric video for the band's latest song, Fever Dream. And it was recently released as a surprise single. And they have no plans right now of putting out a full length. There's been no talk about it. But this is the second single that they have released this year. And as far as full lengths go, their latest was 2018 self-titled. And they did put out a deluxe reissue of that, I believe, late last year, early this year. And they've done a couple little projects. But yeah, no talk of full length. But, you never know, because with this second single out, on top of that, doing covers too. They've done a couple covers and different things. They've been pretty busy. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year we didn't get another MXPX record, which would be nice, because in between the self-titled record, Plans Within Plans came out in 2012. So there was, right there's a 6-year gap in there, and then the record before that, I believe it was Secret Weapon, if I have the catalog in my mind right, and I think that was like 2007, 2008. So, you're talking about like a 4-year gap there. So, you know, it would kind of be nice if we got MXPX records more consistently, because they're still so good too. Like Mike and Tom and Yuri are, you know, can still really write a great pop punk song. They really can. So, you know, I would love if they had, you know, a new record in them every 2 years. With most bands I do, but they're a band who I actually think could put out a good record like every 2 years. There's certain bands who, like, I don't fault them. Like, you'll hear it on this show. I've interviewed people where, like, I don't really want to release records every other year. Like, that's not my thing. Like, I release it when I have something good. And I like that because it's kind of knowing yourself. Like, there are bands who can consistently put out good records. I mean, the Replacements put out and Husker Du. We'll use both of those examples. I mean, the Twin Cities finest of, you know, you got St. Paul over there with Husker Du, got, you know, over in Minneapolis, the Mats, and you look at the output that both of those bands had in, you know, I mean, you know, they're around a decent amount of time, but I mean, about a decade, you know what I mean? Like, they're around for about a decade, yet had big discographies. I mean, Husker Du put out 2 records in 1 year. Replacements there for a while were putting out about an album a year out. And, you know, and they were always good is what I'm getting at, is Husker and Replacements could do records like that. And, you know, Bob Mould and Grant Hart and Paul Westerberg could all write songs consistently like that and were good. Not everyone can, and it's no fault in artists. There are great songwriters who they'll get writer's block, or they just write, you know, they'll write in spurts. They're not writing all the time. And even if they are, it's not all great, you know, which none are. That's the other thing, is people forget that too. It's like, what we hear tends to be artists' best work. Your favorite artist has tons of shitty songs they started writing that, like, they stopped themselves from ever recording, or maybe they did record and, you know, stopped it from ever seeing the light of day. And, you know, I mean, there's definitely bands like that. So it's like, you know, there's some artists where it's like, you know what, it's totally cool. Like, they're releasing stuff every 6 years, or, like, you know, just sporadically like that. And I'm just like, that's probably for the better, including if it's good. Because that's the other thing. I go, like, you know what? Like, the latest Suicide Machines record, one of my favorite albums of the year. And they're a band who hadn't released anything in like 10 years. And quite frankly, by the sounds of it, talking to Jason on here, if they were putting out records every 2 years, we would probably have right now like 3 or 4 mediocre Suicide Machine records. To be completely honest, I'd rather wait that decade and get one really, really good record where all the songs are good. It's an instant classic that I put up there with their first 2 albums. I would much rather have that than like four albums that like have 2 or 3 songs on each of them that I like. You know what I mean? Like, you have to wait a little longer. You don't get the instant gratification, but it's like, for the artist, you keep a better, you know, I just feel like you have a better body of work that you can look back on more fondly than just, we're just putting out shit constantly. You know, you can kind of be more proud of your work. And I care about that more. You know, I care more about quality than quantity when it comes to that. But, you know, anyways, like I was saying with MXPX, I feel like they're ones who could put stuff out more consistently, because they'll do like singles here and there, and they're pretty consistent with that. They may not be putting out records, you know, full lengths like that, but they're doing different things all the time that always sounds so good, where I'm like, I think they have another, like, you know, 10 or 11 songs in them to throw in there and just give us a damn good you know, full length. But hey, until then, the last MXPX record was good. The self-titled, if you never checked it out, and these 2 singles they've put out this year are both really good too. So go check that out. But there's a little bit of music news for you for the month of July. You know, like I said, I mean, there's a shit ton going on. That's just a quick little rundown. I'm not the Larry King of punk news, but I don't know. Maybe one day I will be. But until then, that's the news you got. And I'm the host you got. And this host thanks you for checking out episode 29 of the Power Chord Hour. Check back next week. We're going to have episode 30, talking to Christian Lesperance of Jersey Interchange. And, you know, hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com, for a bunch of things. Like I said, if you're in Europe, if you're over there and you know more about the whole venue thing, hit me up, and I would like to know more about it. If I mean, really from anywhere too, let me know how you feel about a live show in a venue, not outdoor so much, but I mean, you know, how would you feel even socially distant if you could go see a show in like a dive bar, or like, you know, an 800 cap room or something? Like, would you go to that? And, also, if you'd like we got free stickers and guitar picks. You can just hit me up at powerchordhour@gmail.com. I also have those shirts, and I'm giving those out if you go leave a review for the show on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you can review it. I don't even know outside of Apple. I could be talking my ass. Maybe Apple's the only one that you can rate it on. But basically what I'm saying is just rate it on whatever you listen, wherever you listen to this at. If you can rate it there, send me a screenshot, and I'll send you a free Power Chord Hour shirt. And shout out to our listener Grace for getting those made for us. I mean, just a fan of the radio show for years now, and is just very cool and gets us cool things made. And I can't thank her enough for that. That's very rad. And then stay connected with the show. We're at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. I put up all the music I play on the radio show every week on our playlist. And check out that 200th episode, depending on when you're listening to this. It'll be airing July 31st at 10 Eastern on 107.9 WRFA. Listen at WRFALP.com. And enough plug-in, that is it. Happy end of July, happy beginning of August, happy whenever the hell you're listening to this. And most importantly, thank you for listening. And until next time, enjoy the rest of your day.